Hey there, welcome to another episode of This Printed Thing. My name is Mike, and this is where we talk about the 3D printing process from start to finish and everything in between. What I have here are a couple of prints that I did of a model that I'm working with. This is a pen and pencil holder that I got from Zal 3D, and I have license to print this on Etsy, which I do. And here I have like a mint green color that I printed. This so far is my favorite material that I've printed with for this model. This is like a fiery red and orange silk filament. You can see it starts out orange here, kind of goes to red and then back to orange at the top. And this is where you put your pens, pencils, paint brushes, whatever you want to keep in these. I can print in a number of different colors of filament, different materials, but this little shoe here, I mean, normally, oh, I almost dropped it. Normally, a shoe isn't gonna be the same color from bottom to top. Wouldn't it be fun if we could print these in multiple colors? Well, you can, but the problem is that typically a 3D printer only has one print head tool, one nozzle, and in order to print in multiple colors, you have to splice your filaments together, and there are machines out there that can do this for you. You can get a Palette 3 Pro to add on to your 3D printer, and it'll take up to 8 different materials or colors and splice them for you. And they have other models too. The regular Palette 3 will do up to 4 filaments. Prusa also has their solution for the Palette 3 Pro that they call the MMU2S plus something or other. I don't remember, but it only works on their flagship Prusa i3 Mark 3S Plus printers. But I have a trick that you can use to kind of sort of get a similar effect. So we're gonna take this model and we're gonna print it in multiple colors. Let's get to work. So I have our model open here in Cura, which is my slicer of choice, especially for doing something like this because Cura makes it super easy to do. So I've got all my settings set the way I typically do them. So I'm going to slice it, and it tells me it's going to take roughly 5 hours. I go into the preview screen and I can slice down through my model. I can see all the infill, all the layers, etc., etc., etc. So what I'd like to do is print the sole up to here in black, and then let's just do red for the shoe itself, and then for the ankle, well, let's assume that this person's wearing a sock, so we'll make the sock white. So we're gonna take a look here, and you can see over here I've got my layer numbers that I'm working with, and I can click this blue dot right here and use my up and down arrow keys to kind of go up and down just a layer at a time. And I'm gonna say that we want to print in black up to layer 87. You can see over here on the right side that I'm at layer 87. So layer 87, we want to start printing, let's say red. I'm going to do the shoe in red. So we'll print in red from layer 87 to, let's say, layer 294. So 87 and 294, those are the numbers we want to remember. So it's already sliced. What we need to do is come up here to extensions, post-processing, modify G-code. And we're going to add a script. The script we're going to choose is filament change. We're going to do this at layer 87. That's when we want the printer to pause. We want it to eject the filament that it has and then wait for us to press the resume button on the printer to tell it to load the next filament and resume printing. So at layer 87, we're going to do an initial retract. We're only going to do 5 millimeters for the initial retract, because what we want it to do is just pull that out real quick and then get off of the model. We don't want that hot nozzle to be hovering over our print any longer than it needs to be. So 5 millimeters, get the heck out of Dodge. Then once it has homed, we're going to have it retract another 400 millimeters. That's typically the length of retraction that my printer does when I'm retracting material or when I'm ejecting the material to load new material. For the X position and Y position, on my printer, the Anycubic Vyper, my home position is X0 and Y0, so we're going to leave those there. The Z position, relative to where the nozzle is, I'd like for it to raise up 50 millimeters or 5 centimeters. Just because what that does is when I put new filament in, it's going to extrude another 400 millimeters after I put the filament in, to purge out the previous color or the previous material. So I want the nozzle to be up off the print bed for that, so that I can catch the filament as it's coming out, and then when it's done extruding that, I can just pluck it off, so that when it goes back down to print the next color on our shoe or on our pen holder, it'll not have a string of the previous color still hanging out of it. And then this last thing here, the retract method, this is going to vary from printer to printer. My printer, the Anycubic Vyper, uses Marlin for its firmware. Other printers may use RepRap. You'll just have to kind of do some research on your printer to find out which is best for your printer. So we're going to close. And actually, we shouldn't have closed. We're going to go back into the screen we were just in. So I just click this here and I'm right back where I was. We're going to add another one. We're going to add another filament change at, I believe I said it was 294, if I'm not mistaken. Same settings, retract 5 millimeters, and then a later retract to eject the material we're on of 400 millimeters. Let's pull up 50 millimeters on the Z-axis to do all this and close. Now we're going to reslice, and what Cura is doing is it is injecting the G-code into the file that's going to be sent to the printer. And this G-code, these lines of G-code will tell the printer to do exactly what we were just talking about. So yeah, 294 for the sock, and 87. So before it prints 87, it'll do a filament change. Before it prints 294, it'll do a filament change. So we're gonna send this to the printer and we'll see how she turns out. So I'm standing here in front of my printer, and the printer has paused at the top of the black section that I wanted to print, and it has ejected the black filament, and now it's waiting for me to load red filament. So we're going to do that now. So now I have the red filament loaded, and I've only actually loaded it to about right here, just past the extruder, because here on the printer's display, it's waiting for me to press the resume button. As soon as I do, well, there we go. The extruder starts extruding the red filament. Goo's gonna come out here. You see it lifted up about 50 millimeters. Take that off. It lifted up about 50 millimeters after it retracted the filament, just like we told it to. And any second now, goo's going to start coming out. It's going to transition to red. It's going to purge all the black. comes. Now it's red. So I'm just going to catch that, because as soon as it's done purging, print head's going to move back over to our model, and it's going to go down right there. I'll go ahead and pluck this out, and now it's going to start printing in red. So it's printing in red on top of the black. And we'll be back to this point again when we're ready to make the next transition color. And here we are again, a few hours later, okay, several hours later, and I've got the white filament loaded. We have our black and our red. It's waiting for me to hit the resume button. I hit resume. It's loading the white. It's gonna squirt out here in just a minute. Okay, so we got the red coming out, purging that, it's transitioning to white. And we have a little hiccup because, okay, there we go, never mind. It's just taking its time. And now it's going to resume printing white. So my printer just beeped, and look what we have here. We got the black, we got the red, we got the white. And of course inside we have all three as well. Check that out. So how cool is that? A cheap way to get multicolored prints. Now, unfortunately we couldn't make the laces white like I would have wanted to do, because with this method you can only change colors vertically. You can't change colors laterally on the X or the Y axis, only on the Z axis. In order to do that, you would need some other piece of hardware, like you would need either the Palette 3 Pro, or if you're using a Prusa, you would need Prusa's solution to the filament splicing like the Palette 3 Pro does. But still, a fun way to make multicolored prints. And that's it for this episode of This Printed Thing. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and give this video a like. Leave a comment if you have a comment, or if you have a question, or if you just have an idea of something that you think would be fun to design and print. And until next time, I still don't have a catchphrase.